Going gray is a really big decision for many women, especially if you have been covering it up for a while. So you might be wondering, what are the questions that I should be asking? Well, this week marks 7 months into my gray hair transition, and I have decided that I want to share the three most important questions that I have asked myself during this process. And I want to encourage you to stick around. I'm going to share my top tip when it comes to the going gray transition. Now, if we have not met, I am Kat, and Ditching Diets and Diet is all about my personal journey to stop fighting my body and start trusting it instead. Okay, what are the three questions? So, the first one is, why do I want this? If you aren't clear on your why, it's going to be hard to stay the course when times are tough because this is a long process and it's a roller coaster. So, when you aren't clear on why you're doing this, it's going to be difficult to want to stick with it. Now, for me, my why is that I wanted to stop fighting the hair. I always felt like I was in a losing battle over and over and over again. You can hear more about this in my video of why I decided to go gray in my 30s. But once I connected with this why, I really felt the relief and the freedom that came from that decision. And so on those tough days, because there are tough days, I can tap into that feeling of the relief and the freedom of not fighting my hair anymore. Now, the second question that you should ask is, what is the best transition plan for me? And I really want to emphasize me. There are so many voices that tell you the best way to transition your hair, or people who tell you what went wrong and what they would not do again if they could do it all over again. And there are a lot of really strong opinions about how you should transition your hair. Now, I think it's helpful to get all this information, and there's so much out there. It's great. But at the end of the day, there is only one you, and your transition should feel right for you. The other thing is this transition, it's not set in stone. You can change your mind along the way. For example, I saw photos of my hairstylist having done some gray blending for another woman, and it was beautiful. And I thought, for sure, that is what I am going to do. I shared pictures with friends and got really excited about it. But when I actually got to my appointment, which was around the 4 month mark, I realized I was feeling okay with how my hair was growing out and was okay with going cold turkey for now. Will it change? I don't know. I'm 7 months in, I've got a while to go. But it's okay if you adjust because this is your journey and your journey alone. Now, the third question is, how do I want to show up? Now, this is specifically for people who have a visible demarcation line, because there are ways to transition to gray where you don't have that visible line. But if you do, I found it really helpful to ask myself, how do I want to show up in front of other people? Because they are going to notice that I am transitioning my hair to gray. And you have options out there. I mean, if you have a demarcation line, you can choose to disguise or kind of minimize the demarcation line, whether that is getting creative with hats or maybe scarves or different hairstyles that cover it a little bit better, even using root sprays. And there are some people who wear a wig to cover up their gray, and then when they're done their transition, they take off the wig and voila. So I don't think anyone should be shamed or feel bad for wanting to cover or disguise their hair. Because remember, there's no right way to go gray. Now, in my case, I was actually really concerned that it would impact my work. You see, I run workshops and training for teams and individuals. I can't hide. I don't sit behind a desk. My job is forward facing and in front of people. And I was worried that this might impact my business. But I did realize a few things. One is that I want to stop fighting. That's my why. I want to stop fighting. So if I were trying to hide my hair for almost 2 years, or maybe more than 2 years, we'll find out, that's actually a lot of work. So that would be a lot of mental energy and a lot of time going into trying to disguise when I have to be in front of people. And that feels exhausting. And I think that goes against my why. Now, the other thing I realized is if I'm showing my gray hair transition, because this is happening, I've decided to commit to this. Well, if somebody doesn't want to hire me or work with me because of my hair, I don't really want to work with them either. And because I own my business, I get to make that choice. The other thing is, for me, owning it felt really empowering. So just deciding, I'm just going to show it. I'm going to go out and just not care what other people think. And I actually have another YouTube channel that's for my business, and I show up, it has nothing to do, that channel, with gray hair, but I show up rocking the Grombre. And you know what's fun is that when I look back at the older videos where you can actually see early on how little, and then now a little bit later, you can see the transition. I've actually realized it's a fun way to capture my transition. And it's just me being authentically me and putting it out there. So I'm not shying away from it, and it shows people that I am open to this change. I'm not shying away from the fact I've decided to transition to gray. And remember, if other people have an issue with my hair, that's their issue. It's not mine. Now, what is this tip that I want to share with you when it comes to the gray hair transition? And I have to apologize because I love to attribute a quote when I learn one, and I cannot remember. I just don't know who said this. So if you know, let me know in the comments. I would love to give credit where credit is due. But it's this idea that you should look outside for inspiration, but inside for guidance. In other words, there are all these ideas and inspiration and different options that are out there for you, and that's amazing. But at the end of the day, you're the only person who can actually decide what you are going to do and how you're going to do this. So it's really important to trust yourself and also ask yourself what's important. You are doing this for you. And when I think you're clear on your why, and when you ask yourself how you want to do this transition, how you want to show up, that allows you to do this in a way that feels authentic. And the other thing I want to drive home is that just like your hair is always changing and evolving, as we know, it's okay for your opinions and choices to evolve and change as well. Now, if you found this video valuable, I invite you to subscribe and come along for the ride.